In this video, we'll discuss about the development of occlusion, the various stages that occur in occlusal development. So basically, there is a classification, or we could say the numbering system, according to stage, Nola's stages of the development. Basically, there are 10 stages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So starting from the first one, it is basically the absence of crypts, presence of crypt. Third is the initial calcification. Then is the 1/3 of crown completed, 2/3 of crown completed. Then is the crown completed. Then is the 1/3 of root completed, 2/3 of root completed, almost root completed, root completed. Now, this is easy to remember, but I just want you to remember two stages specifically. One is the 6th stage, and the another one is the 8th stage. At this stage, there is the emergence of tooth in oral cavity. All right. Now, there are basically 4 periods of occlusal development. Okay, 4 periods of occlusal development. First is the pre-dental period, followed by the deciduous dentation period, mixed dentation period, and the permanent dentation period. Now, mixed dentation period is further into 3. First transitional stage, then is the intertransitional, then is the second transitional stage. Now, let's talk about the pre-dentate period. Now, in this, it basically starts from birth to 6 months. Now, the key highlight over here is gum pads. Now, basically, what is gum pads? It is the alveolar process at time of growth. They are basically pink, firm, and they are covered by a layer of periosteum, fibrous periosteum. So in gum pads, you basically have to remember 4 grooves. This is the important part which you must remember. First of all, here we will have incisive papilla. Now this one and this one. It is the transverse groove. This is the lateral groove. This one is the dental groove. This is the gingival groove. All right. Now, and gingival groove. All right. So now in transverse groove, each one develops into a single tooth. It separates the gum pads into 10 segments. Okay, remember this. Now, lateral groove, it lies between canine. Basically, where the position of canine will be there. Okay, canine is not present here. All right, canine and primary first molar. Dental groove, we can see it is in the middle. So this is the labial or the buccal side, and this is the lingual or the palatal side. So it separates, or it distinguishes gum pad into 2, labial and lingual. Okay, gingival groove, it basically separates the gum pad, from palate. All right. So now one thing more to remember. What we see is the maxillary gum pads, they are horseshoe shaped, whereas the mandibular gum pads, they are U-shaped. Okay. Now, another important feature to remember, U-shaped and rectangular. Now, another feature to remember, which is quite interesting. This is the lateral groove. All right. Now, because we have not discussed much of the ortho, so at this point, these both are gum pads. Okay. At this point, basically, what you will see is there is a contact between gum pads at the site of future primary molars. All right. So basically, it is open, right? And it is open anteriorly. So there is an anterior open bite. This is the characteristic feature of gum pads. All right. Now this with basically through which the tongue protrudes. Now this closes once primary teeth erupt. Okay. Now since it is being corrected by themselves only, so it is a self-corrected anomaly. All right. Now if you see it in a coronal view, so in a coronal view, what you will see is a U-shaped maxillary gum pad and something like this as a lower gum pad. Okay, lower gum pad, and this is the upper gum pad, and this is our tongue. All right. Now these gum pads, now as you know, there is an anterior open bite, which will get corrected, and it is only present in the first molar region. This is important. Okay. Basically, you will see that there is a glass tube jaw relation. Now coming on to the second stage, which is the primary dentation stage. Okay, the deciduous dentation stage. Deciduous dentation stage. Now this continues from 6 months to 6 years. Basically, there is an initiation of primary tooth bud, which happened around 6 weeks of intrauterine life. The primary teeth, they begin to erupt. Over here, you must remember the eruption sequence. This is basically completed by 2.5 to 3.5 years of age, when second primary molars come into occlusion. Now, to remember the time of eruption, I have a very easy way. First is to make the answer more impressive. Second one is to remember for fast recollection. All right. So first of all, just write 7, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24. Then leave two spaces. Write 6, 7, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. All right. Now we know that the deciduous dentation is represented by alphabets. So write A, B, B. Then go on to 14, D, D. Then write C, C. Then you will write E, E. All right. This is the maxillary teeth, and this is the mandibular teeth. Okay. This is the table. But if you have to answer quickly, so, and this time is in months. All right. Now suppose if you have to answer correctly, so basically the central incisors, they come around in 6 to 7 months. All right, general idea. Then lateral incisors, they come in 8 to 9 months. Then first molar, they come in 12 to 16 months. Then coming on to the canine comes around 16 to 20 months, and second molar 24 to 30 months. Okay, second molar 24 to 30 months. All right. So this is basically primary dentation. Okay. Now we will discuss the third period of occlusal development, which is the mixed dentation phase. This is a very important from exam point of view as well, and from understanding also. Now, as I told you earlier, there are basically three stages. First, transitional. Then we have intertransitional period. Then we have second transitional period. Now, in the first transitional period, what you will see is that there is going to be the eruption of the molars. All right. Wait. This is fine, but we must. I forgot to describe one more thing in the primary dentition. I'll just discuss it here. Features of primary dentition, very important. Features of primary dentition. To remember them, you can remember Sappho. All right. So first, or wait, you can remember Sappho. Yes, with double S. So S for spacing. Then we have the shallow cuspal interdigitation. Then by A we have the almost vertical inclination of anterior teeth. By F we have flat occlusal plane, that is no curve of Spe is present. Then by O we have ovoid arch form. Okay, you can remember Sappho with a double S. So in spacing में, first of all, it is very important for normal development of permanent dentition. Over here there are many features. All right, so first one is the physiological spacing, physiological, generalized, developmental space. Now, in case it is absent, it will lead to crowding. Now, how will we know whether crowding will occur or not? So, basically, probability determination of amount of space in deciduous arch is whether normal or not for the permanent dentition. So, suppose if there is already crowding in primary dentition, so there will be crowding 100% in permanent All right. Then secondly, if there is no crowding, but spaces are present with tight contact, 75% chances there will be crowding in permanent dentation. Third is if there is 3 mm of space or less, so chances are around 50%. If there is 3 to 6 mm of space, chances are 25%. If there is more than 6 mm of space, there is 0% chance that there will be crowding. Okay. Now, then you can also talk about the usually what we see is deciduous incisors. They are more upright than their successors. Also, they're more labially placed. All right, so there is the deep overbite, there is a shallow overjet, and deep bite. Now, this is usually corrected by eruption of deciduous the molars. Then it is corrected by attrition of anterior teeth, also by growth tendency of mandible. Now, eruption of deciduous molars. As you further talk about it, what you will see is in eruption of deciduous molars, there is a wedging effect. All right. Suppose if I have teeth over here, so this will decrease. If I extract the teeth from here, the space anteriorly it will increase. This is called as wedge effect. It is very well talked about in profit also. This is also treatment modality. Later on, we will discuss about it. So, attrition of the anterior teeth. All right, and growth tendency of mandible. This we will discuss in the growth development. But just for a hint, the tendency of the growth of the mandible is basically downward and forward. Okay. Then there is this is the features of the primary dentation. Now coming on to the, we can also talk about the primary molar relationship in mixed dentation. So over here what we have is three parts. One is the flush terminal plane, then is the mesial step, then is the distal step. Okay. Now these are very important. In this what we see is that the mesodistal relationship of the upper and the lower second deciduous molar, they lie in same plane, same vertical plane. So basically the distal surface of upper and lower second deciduous molar lie in one vertical plane. Over here what you will see is the distal surface of the second is more mesial to that of the upper. All right, lower is more mesial to that of the upper. Over here you will see that the lower second deciduous molar is more distal to the upper. All right, now in this there is basically this relation. So what will be the chance is when there will be permanent dentation, so this will result in an end on end relation. All right, um, so this will result in an end on end relation. This is basically what we're trying to say is that the lower it is more mesial. So basically you have something like this. When we will discuss about the occlusion, so this will basically lead to a class 1 or a class 2 or a class 3, sorry. This is more desirable. I will make you understand this in the occlusion chapter. Now over here it will lead to the class 2. All right, now what we see is all these can be corrected. If there is an early shift during the early mixed dentation, so what we see is the primate spaces will be used and it can be converted into a class 1 relation. If there is a late shift, then they utilize the leeway spaces. So now let's get back to the mixed dentation period. Now in the mixed dentation period, in the first stage, what you will see is, just give me a second. No. In this, the first transitional phase, what you will see is there will be the emergence of first permanent molars. Over here you will see ugly duckling. Only there will be ugly duckling stage which will be initiated. Ugly duckling stage initiated. Alright. Over here it will be in its full blow. So there is emergence of the first permanent molar, ugly duckling stage is initiated, plus there is a transition of incisors. Alright. Transition of incisors. In the inter, there is ugly duckling stage, plus there is a transitional deep bite and early mesial shift. In the second, what we will see is there is exfoliation of primary canines and molars. Then there is eruption of permanent premolars and canine and second molar. And there is establishment of occlusion. Alright, this basically occurs 6 to 12 years of age. Now, Coming on to the first transitional period. In the first transitional period, there is basically the first permanent molar that is going to erupt. So there are more chances that we will see that there will be the decrease in the anterior open bile. Now, over here also, in the transition of the incisors, there is a very important term which is incisal liability. So incisal liability is basically the difference between the state, between the space needed for accommodation of incisors and the space available. Roughly for mandible and maxilla, you have to remember the values. For mandible, it is 5 mm, and for maxilla, it is 7 mm. This is overcome by utilization of interdental spaces in primary dentition, then by intercanine width increase, then by change in incisor inclination. Now, in primary incisors, as we were talking about before too, they are more upright, whereas the the permanent incisors, they are more labially inclined, increase the dental arch perimeter. Now in intertransitional, I have already talked about it. Now ugly duckling stage. This is very simple to understand. In this now what happens is, what we see is when there is eruption of the canines. Okay, basically, see this is the canines. They erupt. Now what happens is they will displace the roots of the lateral incisor mesially. Alright. Which will transmit force on roots of central incisor and they will get displaced mesially. Okay. Then what we will see is this thing. What is this? Is there is the due to the this is the midline. So there is a midline spacing which is called as midline diastema. Alright, because of the resultant divergence of crowns of two central incisors. It will correct itself after the proper eruption. This is also called as Broadbent's phenomena. Just for your reference, Broadbent was the first one who invented cephalostat. Alright, we will discuss later. Or it is also called as physiologic midline diastema stage. So this is the ugly duckling stage. I hope you understood. And in the permanent dentition, you can just talk about the molars being coming into occlusion and so on. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked and understood the video.